Greetings, grasshoppers. Welcome to the Bot Signal. My name is RJ Redden. Entrepreneurs hire me to burn down marketing practices that no longer work with them. It's because most can't get traction online to save their lives. And so I create messages that create relationships, build solid stuff, and close deals. Bottom line, torch what isn't working and join the messenger marketing revolution. That's my little call to action right at the beginning. I hope you like it. I like it. If you are, oh, hey, Tish, good to see you. If you are watching anywhere but from the Black Belt Bots page, I won't see your questions and comments, and that, my friends, will break my heart. So do this. Go to the top of this very post. There's a link right in the top there. I think there's a link in the top there. I'm not sure I actually put it in today, but try to be sure you're on the Black Belt Bots page where we are broadcasting so I can see all your questions and comments. Otherwise, I will search them out one by one, search and destroy mission. So very good. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite topics because this is one of the things that absolutely sells me on bots every single time, and that is how to provide great customer service without repeating yourself 500,000 times, and really just providing great customer service is a topic in itself. You know, I was talking a bit ago about I took a lot of Ubers this past weekend. Well, Lyft, Uber. Turns out Lyft is a little less expensive and just as nice. So there you go. But I was talking about, why do people want to take these services? Why didn't I just call a cab? Why didn't I just rent a car? I needed to get around in a city that I have been to approximately one time. Why didn't I just rent a car, call a cab, for all of that stuff? The reason that people use services like Uber and Lyft are because those people sat down and they thought to themselves, what are the pain points of doing things the traditional way? And how can we get rid of all of that? How can we see around every possible corner there could be when hopping a ride from one place to another? Aaron Strayer, Brad Friedman, you guys are here. All right, we're having a party now. Very good, darlings. So glad you're here. So bots for customer service today. And I'm kind of talking about, why people are drawn toward different people's services and how we can repeat that stuff inside a bot experience. Because here it is, a long time ago in a land far from here. Well, more like 6 miles up the street. I used to work at a big box hardware store as a kitchen designer. This was before grad school, and I used to work there, and we were taught that when you have the phone ringing and someone in front of you and a bunch of other things happening, how do you prioritize what to do first? You always prioritize the person, the potential person, client standing right in front of you. Is a customer in a store, but you know what I'm saying. You always prioritize the person standing in front of you. Always prioritize the person with eyeballs. Let the phone ring for just a second longer and say, hey, you acknowledge the person standing in front of you, and you say, hey, I'll be with you in just a second. Mind if I answer this? You pick up the phone, you answer it. The reason why is because if you don't do that, if you go and pick up the phone first, the person standing in front of you feels like they're invisible. Okay. And by the time you talk to them, they probably already, have started to have some negative feelings. And I know that doesn't seem like much, but the way that our world is designed, with all of the technology and all of the cool stuff that we have, people still feel invisible. People still feel not seen, not heard, not cared about. And we want to create that opposite experience in the bot. We want to create the experience of, the Uber and Lyft stuff that I was talking about there at the beginning. We want to create the experience that, we, writers of the bot, have thought about every corner. We have outthought every problem you could face. we have written down every answer to every question that we think that you might have. And while that might seem like a daunting experience, you only have to do it one time, right? You only have to write down, and I have some instructions here for later on as to how you can create a great customer service experience within your bot. It is a little bit daunting. It doesn't have to be complete and perfect and 100% every time. You only have to do it once. So first of all, Stephen Healy, hello. Good afternoon, my bot master, Guru Queen. I will take all those names. I will take all of that. Very good. Good to see you, Stephen. So there are some stories out there of terrible customer service. I've had them, you've had them too, where you write in somewhere and you start asking some questions. The worst thing happens when nobody answers you for 3 days or 3 weeks. The worst happens when you don't at least get an acknowledgement that you're in line to be answered somewhere, or that someone cares about you and has eyeballs on the case. I have worked with a lot of software companies over the years, and I've worked with some who have been like, you know what, we don't have an answer for you right now, but here's what we're going to do, and here's when you can expect to hear from me again. And I've also dealt with software companies who ignore you, feel like it's somebody else's problem, don't care enough to give you a thoughtful answer. I have dealt with all of these over the years. And so, how do you create a great experience for people? How do you show that you've already thought of all of the problems and questions that they could have? We've got Brad saying, always prioritize the person in front of you, even with your bot. Absolutely. Cool thing about the bot is it can talk to several people at once. So the person always never feels like they're in a line, right? They never feel like they're in a queue waiting, and other people are more important and maybe somebody missed their number. I've felt like that a couple of times. That is, with a bot, you don't have to feel that way. But always pay attention to the person in front of you. That's absolutely true. Make it look like you've thought of everything when it comes to customer service. Do. Because what happens is then you look like the person that cares whether or not that person succeeds. You look like you care, and of course you do. I know that my audience does because you're the most fabulous audience ever. But you care whether or not your clients walk out with a product that they can use, or a class that they can take and have a little bit of transformation. If you're a coach, that's pretty key stuff. So how do you do that? How do you make it look like you've thought of everything? So I've got a little exercise here. You don't have to do this right now. You could totally, hop on the replay and get this a little bit later on. But this exercise, I think, will make you think. It'll make you think about how your bot presents itself, and how it engages with people, and how you can provide an experience that is just like a well-oiled machine. People are getting what they need, people are processing their way through stuff. Nobody is running into a brick wall in your bot. So first thing that you can do to improve customer service aspects, this one starts with just a piece of paper and a pencil if you'd like. Crayon if you prefer. Anyway, you can a writing utensil and a piece of paper. If you can take 10 minutes and write down every single customer service question that you answer at least 3 times a week. I guarantee you the answer will surprise you. I did this exercise right before the show today, and I came up with, it was about 7 questions, and I think that you'll probably end up with 7 to 10 questions that are, kind of the real basic stuff. Most of the time when it's a super repetitive question and you get asked this question, You just answer the thing and move on. Because, it's been answered so many times and you don't even have to think about the answer, and it just shows up, it's delivered, it's fine. Um, Teresa says, fat crayons whenever possible. I hear you. So the delivery of the answer to these frequently asked questions is pretty much mindless, right? But when you can look at the answers to those questions, first of all, just look at the questions and go, oh, okay. What percentage of my life would I get back if these were answered for people all the time? Think about that, and then move to the answers. Is there a way that you can creatively answer the question while giving what I call an understanding check, which is, does that make sense to you? Would you like to learn more? And if they say no, would you like to learn more about blah, 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 whatever topic that is? Because you can take that opportunity, not just to answer the question, but to give them a golden nugget of education, just a little bit of knowledge dropped into some context will help people feel like they're getting a win. They're getting a win from just being there and asking questions of you. So write the answers up. Think about, is there a creative way to answer this that will draw people deeper into my circle, or at least, give people an understanding check? Does that make sense to you? Do you have more questions about that? See if you can draw people into conversations every time you give the answer to a frequently asked question. The conversation and connection is what we're after. It's what we're all about. It's what we're doing there. And so use every opportunity that you can to draw people into conversation. You know what? 9 times out of 10, maybe they won't take it. That's totally fine. But the 1% out of 10, that's another opportunity for you. So this is then what I do with the questions, the answers. I then put those into chatbots for myself, of course, and for my clients. And I put them in such a way that a keyword is triggered. So a keyword for me, from one of my frequently asked questions is, what software do you use to build your bots? Answer to that's ManyChat, right? You all have been here long enough to know that. But so how I would take that and put that into a bot is I would put a keyword you can do a keyword or a keyword phrase that triggers off a certain set of messages. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I do have a class that covers all this. Let me know if you're interested and I can hook you up with it. But basically what you do is you identify, what are the keywords or what's a keyword phrase in that question that the next time someone types that into my bot, then a series of messages fires off. The answer to that, so the keyword in this case would be software and build. Because if it's just software, I talk about software an awful lot in the bot, and people might type that in. I don't want them getting the set of messages if they're not asking the question. So I'll put software and build in the keyword phrase. And then I will trigger off an answer. The answer is not ManyChat. The answer is, I'll tell them a little bit about the software. You expand on that a little bit. Does that make sense at the end? Or do you want to go check out the software? That's an important one too. I give people opportunities to further engage with me when I answer those questions. So I hope that one made sense. I don't often give you a little exercise to do because I know you all are very, very busy people. But once you start to isolate those questions, people are going to have those questions. They're going to have questions like that for the rest of your life. You're going to be answering, as long as you are in this business, whatever business it is, you're going to be answering those same 7 to 10 questions at least 3 times a week. But if you can set these things up in your bot, when people do have questions like that, you look like you are Johnny or Jane on the spot with an answer right away. And your customer starts to feel like they can trust you. Why is this important? Trust is everything in a relationship. If you have ever tried to teach somebody something and that person doesn't trust you, it's like scattering seeds on a parking lot. It doesn't work. It will never work. Establishing trust, establishing yourself as an expert and a go-to person when it comes to this topic, little things go a long way to help you establish that kind of credibility. And one of the things that you can do is have an answer. Sometimes for me, the answer is a bit longer than something that I can put in a text and then ask a question to. Sometimes the answer comes in one of my live streams, honestly. I live stream about different topics that have to do with bots. It's all great stuff. But when somebody has a question that I just know is going to be answered in this episode, sometimes I will put links to episode in there that they can watch, or link to a podcast. My podcasts are shorter. They're about 10 minutes long. Sometimes it's nice to put some extra resources in there, some more than just text. Brad says, give people opportunities to further engage with you. Very important to build trust and credibility. Truthfully, I was just watching Erin Strayer's show over there, and she had Spotlight Publishing on today, Becky Norwood, and they were talking about how a book establishes your credibility as an expert, as the go-to person. Excellent stuff. Absolutely excellent stuff. Inside the bot, how can you take that idea inside the bot? How do you establish yourself as that expert? So that's one of the ways that you can do it. Take all those frequently asked questions, turn them into keywords that trigger off, a series of messages. Check for understanding at the end of the message. That's an excellent way to do stuff. That's not only is that a time saver for you, because then there's that you can answer those questions less than. That's nice. But it makes you look like an expert. Let's see here. Okay. Second thing that you can do to improve your customer service a lot is mind your live chat. Mind your live chat. There is a secret button to click when you are setting up your mini chat, and this is something I go through with clients all the time. There's a button to click, and I believe it's on your settings under your live chat heading, that will open a conversation anytime someone goes off of the normal bot run. This is a very important button to click in ManyChat again, but it is something that you can pay attention to. I have my live chat screen up all the time, just because I'm obsessed, right? You may only check into it once every couple of hours. That's totally fine too. But there are times when I can trigger the bot to say, hey, somebody wants to start a conversation with you. But that's only when somebody hits a certain button. I also want an open a conversation to open so that I know something is there when somebody is just asking a random question in a bot that is not covered by a keyword. Because here's the deal. You'll never be able to think of all of the questions that people could ask. That's not something that's possible to do, right? I get asked questions every day that are like, wow, was that really a question? I'll be talking to somebody brand new, and then I'll realize, oh, that person isn't talking about the same kind of bots that I'm talking about. I need to clarify, So questions will come out of the blue for you all the time. What you can do, and what I teach all my clients to do, is hit that button that will open a conversation every time somebody goes off the beaten path, because they will. And also to set up places where people can ask questions all the time in a bot. On mine, you can look at the bottom menu and summon RJ and schedule a call or persistent menu items. I want people to be able to feel like, I don't want to go through this bot, I don't want to go through this sequence, or, I'm tired of these messages. I just want to ask a question. I want to have a place where people can do that. Popular things to name that button. Mine is Summon RJ, but you can also talk to a human, ask a question, ask RJ or fill in your name of your own name there. Provide a way for people to just cut to the chase and ask you a question, because some people are going to want to do that. Also, if they're, if it looks like they're going through some messages and they're, not quite understanding, they can stop at any time, hit the ask a question button, and you can help them get back on track. I do that by minding my live chat. I open that thing up. I usually have it up, or I check into it several times a day just to see if there's an open conversation. Now, this has rewarded me very much, because people will find their way to me any number of ways, right? Sometimes people pop on the website and see an embedded box there and, start to get into the chatbot and then start to ask me questions. Though that has turned into great relationships and, occasionally transactions many times. I was just answering people's questions just like you would if somebody sat down in front of you and said, hey, what do you know about this? What would I do for this case? That kind of a thing. It pays. It absolutely pays to be able to talk to people, to answer their questions when they have them. Right when they have them. The problem with most, I'll call it the contact page on the website, the problem with most of that is that people look at even a form that is name, first name, last name, email, and they will be like, I don't want to do it. First name, last name, email, and usually if they're contacting you, it's some sort of a message. You know what? The only messages that I've actually gotten from those in the past 5 years have been people wanting to spam me with offers of marketing work. I have never gotten an actual human being with a question. Most of the time, that stuff doesn't really work, because people know that they're, you're going to get to it as soon as you can, but it's going to be, it may be forever or whatever. This perception of the one-on-one conversation is part of what makes Messenger special and really super valuable to those of us who are providing customer service to our clients. That one-on-one conversation, even if you can't show up right away and answer that question, when that, the ask a summon RJ or ask a question button is pushed, the system will send me an alert. At the same time, I'm sending that person a message. Hey, I'll be able to get to this question. I will get to it as soon as I can, usually within, 8 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, 24 hours. It doesn't matter what you say, but be able to hold up your end of the bargain. If you say, I'm going to get to you within 24 hours, do that within 24 hours. Don't leave it for 3 days and then come back. I've been in the situation, and we've all been in the situation where we just start to get busy and stuff starts to be crazy. But do what you say you're going to do. I mean, isn't this the simplest customer service thing, right? Just do what you say you're going to do. But within a bot, you're starting to establish that trust. Please, please, please don't break it, because then, you get delayed. At least come back to it and say, it's going to be another little while before I can answer your question, or have somebody that's on your team do that. You want to keep this trust that's being established right now. Total bonus of that kind of approach is that while people are waiting for a response to their question, you can totally lead them to other content. If there's a video series that you want to promote, if there's an upcoming workshop and there's a little video, an intro video discussing that, if there's a blog post that people just love and you want everybody to read if they can, fantastic. You can lead people to that second place. It's like when you walk into a doctor's office and they're like, okay, the doctor will be with you in a minute. Meanwhile, the magazines are over there. It's the same type of principle. And you can get people consuming that content that you're creating. And I know that you all are working hard to create content. So am I. So that's good. Mind your live chat. Mind your live chat. If you're my client, I've made you promise at some point that you will take a look at it every single day. That's a thing that I continually ask people to do, because if you drop that thing like a hot rock, people's questions go unanswered. That trust is going to disappear. And these days, when people get jaded, they don't get unjaded very quickly. Very good. And setting that bot to alert you on the back end, even if you don't have an answer right now, it's still saying, hey, she'll be here as soon as she can. That's the sort of stuff that replaces that. I was talking about the big box store and how people stand at the counter and how you need to talk to the person with eyeballs and acknowledge them first. It's the same thing in your bot, when you can be Johnny on the spot with, hey, she's not around right now, but she'll get to you within a couple of hours. Meanwhile, here's something to consume while you wait. That's that sort of stuff, that little tiny acknowledgement, it goes so far in customer service. Great. Do you guys have any questions about different ways to provide customer service in the bot? Do you have any, have you ever had any problems providing customer service in the bot? And, what can I do to help you get over those hurdles if you're having them? Because I'll tell you, stories of bad customer service these days, like some of them resound forever. There was this, I'll tell you a story while I wait for some questions. There was a company that does some gaming type stuff. They had a little misunderstanding with one of this happened about a week ago, maybe a week and a half. They're having a little misunderstanding with somebody that was a paying client of theirs, had been for years. This something happened to this client, and this client was like, this doesn't sound right, and wrote in to get a response and ask why this thing had happened. It was a removal. And so he wrote in, didn't get an answer, wrote in another 24 hours, didn't get an answer, wrote in another 24 hours, didn't get an answer. When by the time he finally got an answer, he'd gone public with it already, because it was so frustrating to him, because this this punishment that had happened to him threatened other things, and he'd been a paying customer for years anyway. And then the guy, the company answered, and they didn't answer well. They didn't use that human kindness thing, which that's another cool and important thing on a bot, right? Is that you always get to put your best foot forward. You always get to serve people, whether you're feeling sick that day, whether you're having a bad hair day, whether if people are getting on your nerves or not. Everybody's going to get the same answers to the questions that are, in your bot, because you've pre-programmed all of that. You've set all of that already. You always get to put your best foot forward in a bot. Well, so to finish this story up a little bit, this guy answered this objection publicly, and now has the second most downvoted comment, the second most hated comment in all of Reddit. And that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It was a moment of thoughtlessness. It was a moment of inconsistency. And there have been some problems leading up to that as well. But now the weight of something like that, a few years ago, this was probably 2011, one of the airlines smashed somebody's guitar, I think. And this guy, like he wanted them to pay for it, and they wouldn't pay for it, and they wouldn't listen to him. And finally he, made a song about it and went online to YouTube, and just a public relations debacle. Okay. United Airlines can survive that. People like you and me are gonna have a harder time. Not that you and I would make those mistakes of not talking to people, not acknowledging them, not getting back to them. We're going to get back to people, absolutely. But a bot can take some of that weight off of your shoulders by answering questions automatically when people type them in. So, you guys, I hope that was helpful. Hope that was helpful to you. Hope the exercise is helpful. I know that it was helpful for me because now, I have more power to answer stuff that people toss at me all day long, and I can put my best foot forward with that answer every time. So very good. So let's preview what we're talking about next week here. We're going to have some great shows. On Tuesday, my darlings, tune in because ManyChat came out with a bunch of new features. A bunch of new features. They just had a couple of weeks ago, they had a big convention and came out with like 14 new features. So we ain't covering them all in an hour. We're not. We can't. There's too many implications. So we're gonna cover 3 or 4 of those, 3 or 4 of the best ones next Tuesday. And we're also going to talk next Thursday about learning new technology. You know what? This is brand new technology to a lot of you, and some of you are building your own. Some of you are I'm your person that does that. We're going to talk about why learning new technology isn't easy, and we're going to talk about some ways to get some quick wins and start building your confidence up so you don't feel like you're lost at sea all the time. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. I'm also going to be doing my show with Stephen Healy because I always do, because that doing a show with that guy is awesome. That's why. We're going to be talking about bots and bringing up questions that people have. If you have anything you want to see on the show, topic you want to see, somebody want me to interview, do this thing. Let me know what it is or who it is, and I will respond to you by getting that back at you as soon as I can. A little bit of a short show today, but I think it was a powerful one. I am so glad that you're all here, and do tune in next week because it's going to be some great stuff. And I'm also going to be interviewing some new people. I don't do interviews very often. I don't necessarily I don't know if I'm the greatest interviewer in the world, and but I have found some people who are doing things kind of adjacent to me. Like I interviewed Tammy Lane, the Facebook faucet lady, a couple of days ago. I think it's interesting to me when I bring in people who do things that are kind of close to and working in the vicinity of bots, so that I can further show you how those things can be used in different applications. So we'll be interviewing some folks. That's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it for today, my darlings. Please tune in on Tuesday. Let me know if there's something special you want to hear, because I'm always here for that. And with that, I will see you in a bot.